Commission on Teacher and Administrator Education, Certification, and Licensure Development. President, Mississippi Department of Education, Central High School, 4th floor boardroom, 359 Northwest Street, Jackson, Mississippi, 39201. This regular meeting of the Commission is being held today, Friday, January 7th, 2022 at 10 a.m. pursuant to Mississippi Code annotated 25-41-5 with some Commissioner members present via teleconference. Notice this meeting included date, time, place, and purpose of the meeting and identified the location available to the public. Audio recording is being made of this meeting and minutes will be recorded. We'll start with meeting being called to order at 10 a.m. today, Friday, January 7th, 2022. We have established a quorum. As I call your names, Commission members, please state the location of your presence for this meeting. Don't forget to put your mic on.
Present, Brookhaven, Mississippi.
Thank you, sir. Rebecca Gray.
Present, Iuka, Mississippi.
Thank you. William Hamilton.
Present, Oxford, Mississippi.
Thanks, sir. Mary Hill Taylor. Out. John Howard. Kim Hubbard.
Present, Glenwood, Mississippi.
Dr. Teresa J. Rowe.
Present, Starkville, Mississippi.
Thank you. Ms. Rilla Jones.
Present, Tupelo, Mississippi.
Thank you. Dr. Dale Kelly.
Present, Gulfport, Mississippi.
Thank you. Dr. Teresa Poole. Did you? Dr. Poole? You still see her? Dr. Shelley Simmons?
Present, Gulfport.
Thank you. And at a time.
Present, Ruth, Mississippi.
Thank you. The quorum of commission is present at the location stated for conducting a meeting through teleconference means.
Move on to item 3, approval of the minutes from the November 5th, 2021 meeting of the Commission on Teacher and Administrator Education, Certification, Licensure Development. Entertain for a motion of approval. Identify yourself.
Motion to approve, Kim Hubbard.
Thank you. Need a second?
Second.
Second, Burnell Kelly.
Heard Mr. Shelley. Y'all got it. All right. Any discussion? If you do, please identify yourself for the record. All right, no discussion. We'll move to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you. As you needed to. Good deal. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. All right.
Come on screen.
Okay. Dr. Poole has joined us. Just mention that out loud for the record. Item number 4, approval of the hearing subcommittee minutes from the November 5th, 2021 meeting. Subcommittee members present on November 5th were Kim Hubbard, Rebecca Gray, and Dr. Teresa Poole. I believe all those are signed in, so we should be able to vote on that. So those are the only ones that can vote. Please make a motion for approval and identify yourself for the record.
Motion for approval, Kim Hubbard.
Thank you. Second item.
Second, Rebecca Gray.
Thank you. Any discussion? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion will carry. Agenda item number 5, approval of the sub-hearing. I'm sorry.
This is Erin. Did we get Teresa Poole? Did she log in?
She did. She logged in just before that vote. Yeah.
Okay, we need for her to identify where she is for the meeting. And I did not hear her vote on those minutes. She was the third member.
Gotcha. Ms. Poole, are you present? Can you hear us? Did we lose her again?
Still see her there, TP.
Ms. Poole? We need to circle back to that one. So Aaron, we need to circle back to that one.
Well, it's now showing that she's offline, even though she's logged in. We'll note that she's absent for that. But you did have 2 of the 3, so we're good. We can move forward.
All right, yeah, she's showing on the screen. It just looks like her mic is off from what we're seeing. All right. Then we'll move on to agenda item number 5, approval of the hearing subcommittee minutes from the November 17th, 2021. Subcommittee members present on that date were Etta Taplin, William Hamilton, and Mary Hill Taylor. Entertain a motion of approval. Please identify yourself.
Motion of approval,
William.
Etta Taplin.
Taplin, thank you.
Second, William Hamilton.
Thank you, sir. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor, please vote aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, motion will carry. Agenda item number 6, adoption of the agenda. Entertain a motion of approval. Please identify yourself for the record.
Motion of approval, Etta Taplin.
Thank you, ma'am. Need a second?
Second, Teresa J. Rowe.
I'm sorry, who was that?
Teresa J. Rowe.
Thank you, ma'am. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, we'll move on to agenda item number 7, MDE updates from Dr. Corey Murphy. Dr. Murphy.
Thank you so much, Chairman Martin.
So much, Chairman Martin. Good morning, everybody, and Happy New Year to you. I'm going to actually hand it off to my colleagues, Dr. Burson and Dr. Courtney Van Cleve. They're going to provide an update to you today. One in reference to some recent data that we received from a survey that we sent out to local school districts related to critical shortage. And we'll share just a few items or solutions that we've employed for the most part. And then Dr. Burson will actually share some results or recommendations that came out of the governor's task force from that group. And so I'll hand it off to my colleagues. Thanks.
Thank you. Before
The Mississippi Association of Colleges for Teacher Education to bring a quick update from them. They recently celebrated each member institution's outstanding teacher intern, educator, administrator, and educational leadership graduate students at its 2021 MACT Awards ceremony. These awards were presented or were created to help promote the profession of education and encourage the great work taking place in classrooms and schools throughout the Magnolia State. The program was held virtually in a recorded video format, which can be viewed at their website at macte.mississippi.edu. Thanks so much. And Dr. Van Cleve, take us away.
Good morning again. Thank you, Chairman Martin, Dr. Murphy, members of the Commission for having us here today to provide some MDE updates through the Office of Teaching and Leading. So as we get started with these updates, we want to acknowledge that they were also shared recently with our State Board of Education, but we wanted to make sure that you had access to the information as well. So within every presentation that we do, obviously at the Mississippi Department of Education, we always start by grounding in our vision and mission. And in order to achieve that vision and mission, our State Board of Education has set forth 6 strategic plan goals. So a lot of the work that we do within the Office of Teaching and Leading is indeed grounded in Goal 4. Every school has effective teachers and leaders. But what we really do believe is that access to effective teachers and leaders truly does set the foundation for a number of our student outcomes, such as those listed in Goals 1, 2, and 3. So we do see the interconnections across our State Board of Education goals. So within the Office of Teaching and Leading, just to provide a bit of context for where we've been, where we are, and where we're going, we've been thinking about it for a number of years that we have consistently faced what we often think of as a leaky pipeline, where we are losing aspiring and current educators at various stages through their careers. And in facing that challenge, through Dr. Murphy's leadership, we've really been engaging in moving and shifting our paradigm towards that of a human capital highway, where there are multiple on-ramps and off-ramps for career entry into the education profession. And even as we take a more nimble approach, what we realize is that it then begs the responsibility to offer comprehensive, aligned supports for educators throughout their careers. And that is indeed how the Office of Teaching and Leading is organized at this point in time, with the divisions of educator talent acquisition, preparation, licensure, and effectiveness working hand in glove daily together to provide those aligned supports for educators from their first day of recruitment until their last day before retirement. So those are that's the core operating principle that we hold within the Office of Teaching and Leading. And in order to achieve that, we follow a number of key strategies, a couple of which I'll outline that have relevance for today's conversation and presentation. The first being that we consistently examine the methodologies for educator preparation, support, and advancement to ensure that they are attractive to a new generation of educators. And some of that work has even occurred recently within this commission, even in the recent approval of the Master of Arts in Teaching pathways for elementary education, K-6, and special education, K-12, that were approved by this commission during the last meeting and were subsequently approved by the State Board of Education as well. Another key strategy that we hold is to explore multiple pathways to licensure in collaboration with educator stakeholders, recognizing that our districts, that our universities that are closest to the challenges of educator shortages do indeed have the potential to generate some of our most innovative solutions to move us forward. So I'll provide some more information on some of our innovative pathways momentarily. Even as we acknowledge that these strategies are truly aspirational, within the Office of Teaching and Leading, we recognize that we also have to be clear-eyed about some of the current challenges facing our educator workforce. And so in an effort to do that, we recently launched an educator shortage survey, and so I will move us through some of the high-level results from that survey. For some context on the survey, it was launched on August 31st of 2021. It then closed on October 11th of 2021. Within that survey, we did have 100% of Mississippi's traditional public school districts to complete the survey. So the results that you're about to see represent some of the most comprehensive pictures, not only of teacher shortages, but we also collected information on administrator and school support staff shortages, along with the district generated strategies going back to that commitment of ensuring that all of our strategies moving forward are indeed informed by our stakeholders. So we collected some district generated strategies for the survey that we'll also be sure to highlight moving forward. And so as we look at the broad picture of the responses that received from the educator shortage survey, districts are currently anticipating 3,036 certified teacher vacancies for the 2020-2021 school year. When we add those certified teacher vacancies to our administrator vacancies and school support staff vacancies, so like our bus drivers, our teacher assistants, that number expands to 5,503 anticipated educator workforce vacancies for the 2020-2021 school year. And just as we acknowledged in the State Board of Education meeting, it's that these numbers can certainly feel daunting. And it can certainly feel like a significant challenge for us to all face. And yet within the Office of Teaching and Leading, we're encouraged that a number of the strategies that we currently have in place are targeting some of the highest overall areas of need across Mississippi, even as we recognize that to ensure that every child has access to an effective educator every minute of every day of their educational career, it's going to take all of us. It's going to take our efforts here at MDE, the efforts of our districts, of our universities, within our schools, our students, and our teachers themselves to really get a comprehensive approach to our current educator workforce shortages. So within that, to break down those overall numbers a bit more, I'll give some information on the classifications and areas that we're looking at. So again, within teacher vacancies, our district leaders are anticipating that level of vacancy at 3,036, with the highest overall level of anticipated vacancies at elementary school teachers at 958, followed by high school teachers at 881.5. K-12 teachers, such as your music, your art, special education teachers account for 653.5. And then our middle school teachers, the anticipated vacancies there are 543. When we move over to K-12 licensed educator vacancies, such as our librarians, counselors, speech language pathologists, that anticipated vacancy is at 232 for this school year. One of the insights that we had with this survey was the degree of K-12 support staff vacancies, which is currently anticipated at 2,118, of which some of the largest overall areas of vacancies are our teacher assistants, bus drivers, and food service staff as well. We have a smaller overall anticipated amount of vacancies with administrators at 117, but knowing the critical function that principals and assistant principals play, this is indeed a number that we do want to keep in mind moving forward as well. So beyond even the classifications by type of vacancies, we also looked at regional anticipated teacher vacancies by congressional district, keeping in mind that these are, again, only teacher vacancies. So this is that 3,036 anticipated vacancies. And we break that out by congressional district. We're looking at the highest overall anticipated vacancies at 1,274 in Congressional District 3, followed by 776.5 in Congressional District 2, then 709.5 within Congressional District 4, and with our smallest overall area vacancy in Congressional District 1 at 276. So that being said, not to lose the note of optimism and hope, we also wanted to offer the Licensure Commission a sense of some of our current educator workforce strategies that we are executing on right here, right now, along with some of the implications for today. So one of the challenges, and then the line strategy that we certainly heard loud and clear from our districts, and we've heard from universities alike, is the degree and depth of elementary and special education shortages statewide. And so the strategy that we have employed is to offer strong alternate route Masters of Arts in teaching pathways in elementary K-6 and special education K-12. As you'll remember, those were both items even as recent as our last commission meeting that did indeed receive approval from the State Board of Education during our last meeting. Another challenge that we've encountered is just the local nature of our workforce barriers, recognizing that what's needed on the coast may not be exactly what's needed in the Delta or in Eastern Mississippi or even here in in Jackson proper. And so we are looking to continue to target local workforce barriers through innovations such as the Mississippi Teacher Residency, which we're looking to expand through ESSER funding, along with our performance-based licensure pilot. And another area that we're looking to advance is the notion of unique congressional district supports that are coming from our educator workforce specialists who are also housed within the Office of Teaching and Leading, in addition to some of our longer-term strategies through the work of the Governor's Education Human Capital Task Force that Dr. Burson will give an overview of here today as well. So in terms of the shorter, more immediate approaches, as I noted, that we have got a number of sort of locally relevant, innovative pathways that we have been working on for a few years now. These pathways are funded by the generous support of our partners at the W.K. Kellogg Foundation. And so I'll give an overview of two pathways today. The first is the Mississippi Teacher Residency. So this pathway is the nation's first state-led teacher residency that is looking to expand both teacher diversity and effectiveness through high-quality clinical practice under the guidance of an experienced and effective mentor teacher. Pathway is certainly innovative in terms of its scope. And then also we have the performance-based licensure pilot, which is an unprecedented effort. It is the nation's first effort to explore the possibility of performance-based alternatives to our current licensure testing requirements, such as the praxis, in recognition of the feedback that we continue to receive from districts that we have educators who are meaningfully moving forward the needle on student outcomes, serving as special non-renewable licensed teachers, long-term substitute teachers, teachers assistants, and yet they have faced challenges in moving through either educator preparation or licensure due to some of the licensure testing requirements. So those are two of the innovative pathways that we have in an effort to increase teacher diversity and effectiveness statewide. In terms of that commitment to teacher diversity, when we look at our innovative programs recruitment, we're encouraged that currently across 3 cohorts, 70% of our Mississippi teacher residents identify as a person of color. Meanwhile, within our performance-based licensure pilot, 99% of our candidates identify as a person of color, which far exceeds our current national teacher diversity rates across the United States. Moving towards implications for preparation in terms of our candidate clinical hours within the Mississippi Teacher Residency, when we look at the very minimum traditional student teaching baseline of 420 hours, what we are seeing currently with our Mississippi teacher resident candidates is that they are averaging 961 clinical practice hours, again, under the guidance of that mentor teacher. So we're excited for the implications of day one readiness with that increase in clinical hour preparation through the Mississippi teacher residency. Then as we move towards innovative program effectiveness, one of the areas that we're looking to within the performance-based licensure pilot is that we are looking at summative professional growth system score averages. And so one area that we're studying in the pilot is that our PBL candidates in comparison to those teachers who have passed all required licensure exams. So that's the only difference between a PBL teacher and their comparison, is that this individual has passed all required exams as a comparison teacher. And what we found on summative score averages is that our PBL candidates were slightly ahead in terms of gauges of educator effectiveness at a 3.14 average summative PGS score as compared to their comparison counterparts at 3.09, keeping in mind that the state's definition of effectiveness is a level 3. Moving over towards implications for Mississippi teacher resident effectiveness, we were really excited to see that our mentor teachers, of them, 87% believed that their resident was either very well prepared or prepared to serve as the teacher of record following graduation. We were also excited to see some really strong indicators of preparation across a variety of instructional domains that we were surveying for as well. So then in terms of implication, it's one thing to recruit and then prepare, ensure effectiveness, but what are what's the degree of retention that we're seeing across these programs? And particularly given the current context of the COVID-19 pandemic, we're really encouraged by these retention rates, with Mississippi teacher residency sitting at a retention rate of 91% and the performance-based licensure pilot sitting at a retention rate of 92%. Thinking about longer term implications for retention, our PBL candidates are currently averaging 13 years of classroom experience through a combination of time of service as a teacher assistant, a long-term substitute, special non-renewable licensed teacher. So there is a real indication that they are committed to their classrooms and communities long-term. Even as we think about some of these exciting implications, we always want to be mindful of program cost with the question of sort of notions for scale therein. And so currently the cost per candidate for a performance-based licensure candidate with support staff from MDE is averaging $500 per year. And then if we are to consider the Mississippi teacher residency, admittedly that's at a higher rate at $21,700, but then we think about tuition and mentor stipends and books and fees, so that higher rate makes sense. It is still far, far under the national projected rates from the National Center for Teacher Residencies at $45,000 in terms of low average and $60,000 for the high average. So we really are believing that this is both a cost-effective program and one that has great implications for educator diversity and effectiveness. So again, those are some of the strategies that we have in place right now to address some of our current educator workforce shortages. And as I noted, my colleague, Dr. Burson, is going to move us through some of the longer term strategies for potential consideration through the Governor's Education Human Capital Task Force recommendations.
Thanks, Dr. Van Cleve. Yes, this morning I'd just like to bring to you a little information from SREB's most recent report addressing Mississippi's teacher shortage, a collaborative action plan. The Mississippi Governor's Education Human Capital Task Force, which we'll refer to as the task force, was convened by Governor Tate Reeves at the request of SREB, which is the Southern Regional Education Board. This was done in early 2020 to address areas of need as related to Mississippi's educator pipeline and to explore innovative solutions to strengthen the teacher workforce across the state. Task force members included teachers, administrators, IHE deans, presidents, and other state agencies like Workforce Development, community colleges, nonprofit organizations, IHL staff, and MDE staff. Two state board members, Dr. Karen Elam and Mr. Glenn East, also served on this, as well as Dr. Terry J. Rowe, who is on our licensure commission. So over a period of 18 months, beginning pre-pandemic through August of 2021, the task force collaborated in the development of recommendations related to the teaching workforce in Mississippi, while also paying careful attention to issues of equity, diversity, and of course, positive student K-12 outcomes. At the center of the task force mission was one goal, which is the state board goal for providing every Mississippi child with an effective teacher. The task force focused on 4 primary pillars to rebuild the teacher pipeline: expanding pathways into teaching, redesigning teacher licensure, improving teacher supports, and revising teacher compensation and salary schedules. And Dr. Van Cleve, I think we can just go to the next slide. First, we need to enhance and broaden preparation pathways, creating more opportunities and access to diversify the teaching profession in Mississippi by unpacking how individuals enter the profession from various backgrounds. The goal is to attract potential teachers from multiple walks of life and to provide meaningful real-world experiences for resident teachers before they move into beginning teacher roles. Mississippi also needs to redesign the existing licensure structure to better support professional advancement of teachers using induction pathways to scaffold skill development and provide support that can attract and retain more teachers. This process should allow resident teachers to progress through the licensure structure based on content and pedagogical skills. As teachers move from a beginning teacher license to an advanced licensure based on demonstrated competencies and positive student outcomes, Mississippi should consider how to reward teachers' efficacy with career advancement options, with designations such as professional teacher, master teacher, or lead mentor teacher. Again, this design is intended to give teachers an opportunity to advance and grow, becoming more autonomous without having to leave the classroom. In addition to redesigning licensure structures, Mississippi needs to offer integrated teacher growth supports like mentorship and funded professional learning into the redesigned licensure structure. Supports such as these have the potential to change the culture of teaching in Mississippi. We have seen the benefits of such support for professional learning directly over the last 8 years as Mississippi has invested significantly in professional development related to the science of reading, as well as coaching supports for K-3 teachers. Finally, the task force has recommended Mississippi address teacher salaries, providing fair compensation that mirrors neighboring states with opportunities for salary increases as teachers hone their pedagogical skills, increase student growth. While largely political, the element of pay is key to keeping strong teachers in the classroom. Unfortunately for teachers, the only current pathway to increased compensation often requires them to leave the classroom for a different role in education or to leave the field entirely. And I think we can go to the next one too. Thanks. The report outlines several action steps needed to see these recommendations come to fruition, and you can see these as cited in the slide above. So again, this was just a high-level overview of the work conducted by the task force. Moving forward, I will be the MDE lead with two co-leaders, Dr. Teresa J. Rowe, again, the Dean at Mississippi State University and Licensure Commission member, and Ms. Heather Morrison, who is our State P20 Director. All of our original task force members have indicated a willingness to continue to serve in this capacity and to see implementation of as many recommendations as possible. Just to let you know, the Office of Teaching and Leading is excited about the potential these recommendations have for transforming how we prepare, support, and retain the best and the brightest teachers in Mississippi. We appreciate this opportunity to share this information with you. And if Dr. J. Rowe has anything that she would like to share in regard to the work of the task force, Dr. J. Rowe, I hope you'll feel free to do so. And if not, if there are any questions for either Dr. Van Cleve or for myself, we're happy to entertain those now. Thank you.
Any questions? All right, we appreciate the update.
Appreciate the update. There's definitely some good information there, and appreciate y'all taking the lead and jumping on that, because that's definitely some areas of concern in education. So appreciate y'all's work on that. Dr. Murphy, you have some more updates for us?
That concludes our updates for today. Thank you for the opportunity to share.
Appreciate you. All right. Agenda item number 8, information update from the Division of Educator Preparation.
Morning. Thank you again for this opportunity to bring some high-level overviews for you regarding our educator preparation program review processes. The next item on our agenda will be an item for your consideration related to the approval of 4 specific EPPs. And so prior to that item, we just wanted to walk you through some of the information that might be helpful for you contextually to better understand how these processes work in tandem to help us as we work with our EPPs in ensuring day one ready teachers. And as we always start all of our presentations at the board, at State Board, and any presentation we do, we want to look at our goals. And you will note here, I've just taken the liberty to put a gold star on 4. that every school has effective teachers and leaders, because we know that this is going to be the centerpiece of ensuring we can move all the other goals forward. So a little bit of background, let me share with you some of the contextual information about the program review processes. First, these processes are required in state and federal statutes. Mississippi Code 3732 authorizes you, the commission, to approve standards for licensure programs. Mississippi Code 37-10129 is state statute that requires the state and the EPPs to submit annual reports, performance reports on all licensure programs. And finally, we have federal requirements that lend to the overall quality of teacher preparation in each state. So looking at some of the processes that are involved here. The first, we have national accreditation, which is CAPE, and that is the Council for the Accreditation of Educator Preparation. That is our current national accreditation accreditor with whom we hold a partnership. This is noted in State Board Rule Chapter 14, Rule 1420, and codified in Title 7, Part 107 of the Mississippi Administrative Code. CAPE's reviews are conducted in a 7-year cycle and require the EPPs to have a program reviewed. The MDE's partnership with CAPE requires that these reviews are conducted by the state. However, EPPs can also add an additional level of review, which is done through specialized professional associations, or SPAs. Those are entities like the National Council for Teachers of Social Studies, National Council Teachers of English, etc. CAPE requires EPPs to report annually on 8 outcome measures, and we'll talk about those momentarily. EPPs provide CAPE with a comprehensive self-study on all programs. CAPE then responds with formative feedback in which the EPP addresses prior to the actual site or virtual visit. In conjunction with the CAPE process, the MDE conducts in-depth program reviews for each program leading to licensure. This is done at the midpoint of the EPP's national accreditation cycle and provides the EPP with the data necessary to fulfill some of their CAPE requirements. The EPPs submit individual self-studies on 3 standards to the MDE. The first is on content and pedagogical knowledge, the second, clinical practice and partnerships, and the third is candidate quality and selectivity for the program. EPPs are allowed to address standards 2 and 3 holistically for the EPP. However, standard 1 on content and pedagogical knowledge, it is addressed specifically for each discipline or program leading to licensure. Like CAPE, the MDE provides formative feedback and allows the EPPs to respond to any insufficiencies before a final report is made. Once the 7-year cycle is complete, it is brought to the Licensure Commission. And so today, as I mentioned, in our next item, we'll be bringing 4 of those for your consideration. So as I mentioned, the 8 reporting measures that the EPPs are required to submit to CAPE annually are cited here on this slide, and EPPs are required to have documentation of these data and on each of their institutions' websites. The MDE also, as mentioned earlier, conducts annual reviews, and this is what's codified in 37-10129, and these are the areas that the state looks at in the EPP annual report. In addition to annual reporting measures, we also do statewide surveys. At this time, some of these surveys are being hosted by the University of Mississippi, and we appreciate their collaborative support in ensuring that we can disseminate and collect survey data on completer satisfaction as well as employer satisfaction. The EPPs have a collaborative report that they do with NSPARC, and this is what they've done with individual MOUs. And they have used these data to create report cards, again, on the 8 annual reporting measures, and this information should be found on each EPP's website. We also collect data twice a year in the fall semester and spring semester in the form of survey data on student teaching reports. So we look at candidates' placement type, they're from the field director, as well as student teaching on the perception of their satisfaction and the perception of the cooperating teacher's satisfaction with the level of preparation the candidate received. And the backup material that you had are presented with the 4 institutions today, you will see it's in this form. And so we've tried to come up with a form that would allow you to see any number of measures that we've taken into account in this 7-year cycle in looking at the quality and the efficacy of the preparation program. And so, as mentioned, this is just really a high-level overview so that you see there's really a lot of information that goes into looking at our programs and working with our programs to ensure the best and the brightest and the highest qualifications are there for these teachers. At our next meeting in March, we'll be bringing to you one of the EPP's annual reports for the whole state for your consideration. But at this time, if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to take them. Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it. Any more questions for Dr. Burson?
More questions for Dr. Burson? Appreciate that update. That should make the next agenda item move a little quicker, so appreciate that. Moving on to agenda item number 9, approval of certain EPP, Education Preparedness Provider programs as recommended by the Division of Educator Preparation. So we just went through that, but to follow formality, any questions for Dr. Burson at this time? All right, entertain a motion for approval or take under advisement. Please identify yourself and the motion you are making.
Motion for approval, Etta Kaplan.
Thank you.
Second, Teresa Poole.
Thank you. Any discussion? All right. And we'll have a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 10, approval ratifications, agreed orders, and voluntary surrenders. Mr. Spot DeYoung.
Good morning, Commission members, Mr. Chairman, Dr. Murphy. Is that better? Okay, so good morning. My name is Scott DeYoung. I'm the Director of the Office of Educator, Misconduct Evaluations, and I would like to present 14 agreed orders today for your consideration. In the matter of Mississippi Educator License Number 236729, Amber Roseberry. Whereas respondent Amber Roseberry has been ordered by the Circuit Court of Rankin County to serve 1 year on supervised probation under the direct supervision of Court Watch, and that the respondent's Mississippi Educator License Number 236729 shall be suspended for a period of 1 year. Whereas the respondent consented to an agreed order suspending the respondent's license without the necessity of a disciplinary hearing before the Commission. that upon execution of this agreed order, respondent's educator license number 236729 to teach in the state of Mississippi and all privileges belonging to said license shall immediately be suspended for a period of 1 calendar year from the date of ratification by the Commission of Teacher and Administrator Education, Certification, and Licensure and Development. The respondent may petition for reinstatement at the conclusion of the suspension period. Such reinstatement petition shall be in accordance with Mississippi Code annotated 373214A and the rules of procedure governing disciplinary proceedings of the Commission without the necessity of a hearing. In the matter of Mississippi Educator License Number 263252, Ernest Dixon, whereas on or about November 12th, 2020, the Office of Educator Misconduct of the Mississippi Department of Education received an Appendix C report submitted by Vicksburg Warren School District that alleged that respondent Ernest Dixon violated Standard 4 of the Mississippi Educator Code of Ethics and Standards of Conduct. The respondent Ernest Dixon admits that on or about October 31st, 2020, and at other times during the 2020-2021 school year, while employed as an educator with the Vicksburg Warren School District, the respondent violated Standard 4 of the Mississippi Educator Code of Ethics Standards of Conduct adopted by the Mississippi State Board of Education by engaging in an inappropriate relationship with various students, and such action constitutes grounds for suspension or revocation of a teacher or administrator license pursuant to Mississippi Code annotated 373212F. Specifically, the respondent admits engaging in activities as alleged and or described by the Vicksburg Warren School District in the Appendix C filed on or about November 12th, 2020. And upon execution of this agreed order, respondent's educator license number 263252 to teach in the state of Mississippi and all privileges belonging to said license shall immediately be revoked for a period of 1.5 years from the date of ratification by the Commission of Teacher and Administrator Education, Certification, and Licensure and Development. Further agreed, the respondent shall, at his own expense, complete a seminar or coursework related to ethical teacher-student relationships from an accredited university or other reputable source satisfactory to the Commission prior to the conclusion of the suspension period stated prior. The respondent shall submit proof of attendance and successful completion of the required courses of study to the Office of Educator Misconduct prior to or contemporaneous with his petition for reinstatement. The respondent may submit an application or petition for reinstatement at the conclusion of the revocation period. Such reinstatement petition shall be in accordance with Mississippi Code annotated 373214A and the rules of procedure governing disciplinary proceedings of the Commission. The Commission, in its discretion, may reinstate the respondent's educator license only by a majority of all members of the Commission present at the meeting called for that purpose upon the respondent's satisfactory showing of evidence of rehabilitation. In the matter of Mississippi Educator License Number 271350, Natalie Hill, whereas on or about September 10th, 2021, the Office of Educator Misconduct, the Mississippi Department of Education received an Appendix C report submitted by the Jackson Public School District that alleged the respondent, Natalie Hill, violated Standard 10 of the Mississippi Educator Code of Ethics and Standard of Conduct. And whereas the respondent, Natalie Hill, has consented to enter into an agreed order suspending the respondent's educator license without the necessity of a disciplinary hearing before the Commission. The respondent, Natalie Hill, admits violating Standard 2 of the Mississippi Educator Code of Standards and Conduct on or about May 27, 2021, by resigning or otherwise breaching respondent's contract and or abandoning respondent's position as an educator with the Jackson Public School District without first being released from her contract, and that such action constitutes grounds for suspension of a teacher or administrator license pursuant to Mississippi Code annotated 373212A. By executing this agreed order, the respondent acknowledges it shall have the same effect as a suspension of respondent's license. Respondent's license shall be suspended for 1 school year. Said surrender period shall be from the date of ratification through June 30th, 2022. At the conclusion of the surrender period, the respondent may petition for reinstatement of respondent's educator license pursuant to Mississippi Code annotated 373214A without the necessity of a hearing. In the matter of Mississippi Educator License Number 238099, Giovanni Johns, whereas on or about September 10, 2021, the Office of Educator Misconduct of Mississippi Department of Education receiving an Appendix C report submitted by the Jackson Public School District that alleged the respondent, Giovanni Jones, violated Standard 10 of the Mississippi Educator Code of Ethics and Standards of Conduct. Whereas the respondent, Giovanni Johns, has consented to enter an agreed order suspending the respondent's educator license without the necessity of a disciplinary hearing before the commission. Respondent admits violating Standard 10 of the Mississippi Educator Code of Ethics and Standards of Conduct on or about May 27, 2021, by resigning or otherwise breaching respondent's contract and/or abandoning respondent's position as an educator with the Jackson Public School District without first being released from her contract, and that such action constitutes grounds for suspension of a teacher or administrator license pursuant to Mississippi Code annotated 373212A. By executing this agreed order, the respondent acknowledges it shall have the same effect as a suspension of respondent's license. Respondent's license shall be suspended for 1 school year. Said surrender period shall be from the date of ratification through June 30th, 2022. At the conclusion of the surrender period, the respondent may petition for reinstatement of respondent's educator license pursuant to Mississippi Code annotated 373214A without the necessity of a hearing. In the matter of Mississippi Educator License Number 239242, Crystal Glenn, whereas on or about September 2nd, 2021, the Office of Educator Misconduct, the Mississippi Department of Education, received an Appendix C report submitted by the Rankin County School District that alleged the respondent, Crystal Glenn, violated Standard 10 of the Mississippi Educator Code of Ethics, Standards of Conduct. Whereas the respondent, Crystal Glenn, has consented to enter an agreed order suspending the respondent's educator license without the necessity of a disciplinary hearing before the commission. Respondent, Crystal Glenn, admits violating Standard 10 of the Mississippi Educator Code of Ethics and Standards of Conduct on or about July 1st, 2021, by resigning or otherwise breaching respondent's contract and or abandoning respondent's position as an educator with the Rankin County School District without first being released from her contract, and that such action constitutes grounds for suspension of a teacher or administrator license pursuant to Mississippi Code annotated 373212A. By executing this agreed order, the respondent acknowledges it shall have the same effect as a suspension of respondent's license. Respondent's license shall be suspended for 1 school year. Said surrender period shall be from the date of ratification through June 30th, 2022. At the conclusion of the surrender period, the respondent may petition for reinstatement of respondent educator license pursuant to Mississippi Code annotated 373214A without the necessity of a hearing. In the matter of Mississippi Educator License Number 327650, DeAsia Cias, whereas on or about November 18, 2021, the Office of Educator Misconduct received an Appendix C report submitted by the Jackson Public School District that alleged the respondent violated Standard 10 of the Mississippi Educator Code of Ethics and Standards of Conduct. Whereas the respondent, DeAsia Cias, has consented to enter an agreed order suspending the respondent's educator license without the necessity of a disciplinary hearing before the commission. The respondent admits violating Standard 10 of the Mississippi Educator Code of Ethics and Standards of Conduct on or about October 15, 2021, by resigning or otherwise breaching respondent's contract and or abandoning respondent's position as an educator with the Jackson Public School District without first being released from her contract, and that such action constitutes grounds for suspension of a teacher or administrative license pursuant to Mississippi Code annotated 373212A. By executing this agreed order, the respondent acknowledges it shall have the same effect as a suspension of respondent's license. Respondent's license shall be suspended for 1 school year. Surrender period shall be from the date of ratification through June 30th, 2022. At the conclusion of the surrender period, the respondent may petition for reinstatement of respondent's license pursuant to Mississippi Code annotated 373214A without the necessity of a hearing. Matter of Mississippi Educator License Number 237678, Wandera Thomas. On or about September 10, 2021, Office of Educator Misconduct received an Appendix C report submitted by the Jackson Public School District that alleged the respondent violated Standard 10 of the Mississippi Educator Code of Ethics and Standards of Conduct, and that Wandera Thomas has consented to enter an agreed order suspending the respondent's educator license without the necessity of a disciplinary hearing before the commission. The respondent admits violating Standard 10 of the Mississippi Educator Code of Ethics and Standards of Conduct on or about July 14, 2021, by resigning or otherwise breaching respondent's contract and/or abandoning respondent's position as an educator with the Jackson Public School District without first being released from her contract, and that such action constitutes grounds for suspension of a teacher or administrator license pursuant to Mississippi Code annotated 373212A. By executing this agreed order, the respondent acknowledges it shall have the same effect as a suspension of respondent's license. Respondent's license shall be suspended for 1 school year. Said surrender period shall be from the date of ratification through June 30th, 2022. At the conclusion of the surrender period, the respondent may petition for reinstatement of educator license pursuant to Mississippi Code annotated 373214A without the necessity of a hearing. In the matter of Mississippi Educator License number 324960, Brittany Schelling, on or about September 10th, 2021, Office of Educator Misconduct received an Appendix C report submitted by the Jackson Public School District that alleged the respondent, Brittany Schelling, violated Standard 10 of the Mississippi Educator Code of Ethics and Standards of Conduct. Whereas the respondent, Brittany Schelling, has consented to enter into an agreed order suspending the respondent's educator license without the necessity of a disciplinary hearing before the commission. The respondent admits violating Standard 10 of the Mississippi Educator Code of Ethics and Standards of Conduct on or about May 28, 2021, by resigning or otherwise breaching respondent's contract and/or abandoning respondent's position as an educator with the Jackson Public School District without first being released from her contract, and that such action constitutes grounds for suspension of a teacher or administrator license pursuant to Mississippi Code annotated 373212A. By executing this agreed order, the respondent acknowledges it shall have the same effect as a suspension of respondent's license. Respondent's license shall be suspended for 1 school year. Said surrender period shall be from the date of ratification through June 30th, 2022. At the conclusion of the surrender period, the respondent may petition for reinstatement of her education license pursuant to Mississippi Code annotated 373214A without the necessity of a hearing. Matter of Mississippi Educator License number 199735, Stephen Corey Blackwell. Whereas on or about February 26, 2016, Office of Educator Misconduct received an Appendix C submitted by Choctaw County School District alleging Stephen Corey Blackwell violated Standard 4 of the Mississippi Educator Code of Ethics and Standards of Conduct. Respondent Stephen Corey Blackwell has consented to an agreed order suspending his license without the necessity of a disciplinary hearing before the commission. Admit to any violation of the Mississippi Educator Code of Ethics and Standards of Conduct as adopted by the Mississippi State Board of Education, but agrees to the entry of this agreed order in a desire to conclude this matter. That upon execution of this agreed license number 199735 to teach in the state of Mississippi and all privileges belonging to said license shall immediately be suspended for a period of 1 year from the date of ratification by the commission. The respondent may submit an application or petition for reinstatement at the conclusion of the revocation period. Such reinstatement petition shall be in accordance with Mississippi Code annotated 373214A and the rules of procedure governing disciplinary proceedings of the commission. The educator's license may only be reinstated upon satisfactory showing of evidence of rehabilitation as determined by either a majority of all members of the commission present at the meeting called for that purpose or by a designated hearing officer. The matter of Mississippi Educator License number 182979, Johnny Chapman. On or about October 27, 2021, the Office of Educator Misconduct received an Appendix C report submitted by the Sunflower County Consolidated School District that alleged the respondent, Johnny Chapman, violated Standard 4 of the Mississippi Educator Code of Ethics, Standards of Conduct. Whereas the respondent, Johnny Chapman, has consented to an agreed order placing the respondent's educator license on probation without the necessity of a disciplinary hearing before the commission. The respondent, Johnny Chapman, admits that during the 2021-2022 school year, while employed as an educator with the Sunflower County Consolidated School District, violated Standard 4 of the Mississippi Educator Code of Ethics and Standards of Conduct by the Mississippi State Board of Education as alleged in an Appendix C submitted by the Sunflower County Consolidated School District, and such action constitutes grounds for suspension or revocation of a teacher or administrator license pursuant to Mississippi Code annotated 373212F. That upon execution of this agreed order, respondent's educator license number 182979 to teach in the state of Mississippi and all privileges belonging to said license shall immediately be placed on probation for a period of 1 year from the date of ratification by the commission. It is further agreed the respondent shall, at his own expense, complete a seminar or coursework related to proper student educator ethics of conduct from a reputable source satisfactory to the commission prior to the conclusion of the probationary period stated prior. Said coursework should equal 3-hour coursework or be the equivalent thereof. The respondent shall submit proof of attendance and successful completion of the course of study to the Office of Educator Misconduct. Probationary period shall remain in effect for 1 year from the date of ratification. Any violations of state and or federal law and or allegations of violations of the Mississippi Educator Code of Ethics and Standards of Conduct or failure to complete a requirement of the probation during the probationary period shall automatically result in the immediate suspension of the respondent's educator license for the remainder of the probationary period. In the event the respondent's license is suspended due to failure to comply with the above conditions, the respondent may petition for the reinstatement of his license following conclusion of the suspension period. Such reinstatement petition shall be in accordance with Mississippi Code annotated 373214A and the rules of procedure governing disciplinary proceedings of the commission. The commission, in its discretion, may reinstate the respondent's educator license only by a majority of all members of the commission present at the meeting called for that purpose upon the respondent satisfactory showing evidence of rehabilitation. In the matter of Mississippi Educator License number 264793, Kendra Dixon, on or about September 10th, 2021, the Office of Educator Misconduct received an Appendix C report submitted by the Jackson Public School District alleging that respondent Kendra Dixon violated Standard 10 of the Mississippi Educator Code of Ethics and Standards of Conduct, and whereas the respondent Kendra Dixon has consented to enter an agreed order suspending the respondent's educator license without the necessity of a disciplinary hearing before the commission. The respondent admits violating Standard 10 of the Mississippi Educator Code of Ethics and Standards of Conduct on or about July 30th, 2021, by resigning or otherwise breaching respondent's contract and or abandoning respondent's position as an educator with the Jackson Public School District without first being released from her contract, and that such action constitutes grounds for suspension of a teacher or administrator license pursuant to Mississippi Code annotated 373212A. By executing this agreed order, the respondent acknowledges it shall have the same effect as the suspension of respondent's license. Respondent's license shall be suspended for 1 school year. Said surrender period shall be from the date of ratification through June 30th, 2022. At the conclusion of the surrender period, the respondent may petition for reinstatement of her license pursuant to Mississippi Code annotated 373214A without the necessity of a hearing. In the matter of Mississippi Educator License number 318360, Shanisha Atkinson, on or about September 10th, 2021, Office of Educator Misconduct received an Appendix C submitted by the Jackson Public School District alleging that the respondent, Shanisha Atkinson, violated Standard 10 of the Mississippi Educator Code of Ethics, Standards of Conduct, and whereas the respondent, Shanisha Atkinson, has consented to enter an agreed order suspending the respondent's educator license without the necessity of a disciplinary hearing before the commission. Respondent admits violating Standard 10 of the Mississippi Educator Code of Ethics and Standard of Conduct on or about June 15, 2021, by resigning or otherwise breaching her contract and/or abandoning her position as an educator with the Jackson Public School District without first being released from her contract, and that such action constitutes grounds for suspension of a teacher or administrator license pursuant to Mississippi Code annotated 373212A. By executing this agreed order, the respondent acknowledges it shall have the same effect as a suspension of the respondent's license. The respondent's license shall be suspended for 1 school year. Said surrender period shall be from the date of ratification through June 30th, 2022. At the conclusion of the surrender period, the respondent may petition for reinstatement of respondent's educator license pursuant to Mississippi Code annotated 373214A without the necessity of a hearing. In the matter of Mississippi Educator License Number 195993, Amanda Mason, whereas on or about April 1st, 2021, Office of Educator Misconduct received an Appendix C submitted by the Itawamba County School District that alleged the respondent, Amanda Mason, violated Standard 3 of the Mississippi Educator Code of Ethics and Standards of Conduct. And whereas the respondent, Amanda Mason, has consented to an agreed order placing her educator license on probation without the necessity of a disciplinary hearing before the commission. The respondent, Amanda Mason, admits that during the 2020-2021 school year, while employed as an educator with the Itawamba County School District, the respondent violated Standard 3 of the Mississippi Educator Code of Ethics and Standards of Conduct, adopted by the Mississippi State Board of Education as alleged in an Appendix C submitted by the Itawamba County School District, and such action constitutes grounds for suspension or revocation of a teacher or administrator license pursuant to Mississippi Code annotated 373212D. That upon execution of this agreed order, the respondent's educator license to teach in the state of Mississippi and all privileges belonging to said license shall immediately be placed on probation for a period of 3 years from the date of ratification by the commission. It is further agreed the respondent shall, at her own expense, complete a treatment program for substance abuse and/or addictions from a reputable source satisfactory to the commission prior to the conclusion of the probationary period stated prior. Also, the respondent shall participate in ongoing treatment through programs such as Narcotics Anonymous or other similar programs. The respondent shall submit proof of attendance and successful completion of treatment to the Office of Educator Misconduct. The probationary period shall remain in effect for 3 years from the date of ratification. Any violations of state and/or federal law and/or allegations of violation of the Mississippi Educator Code of Ethics and Standards of Conduct or failure to complete a requirement of the probation during the probationary period shall automatically result in the immediate suspension of Educator License 195993 for the remainder of the probationary period. In the event the respondent's license is suspended due to failure to comply with the above conditions of her probation, the respondent may petition for the reinstatement of her educator's license following conclusion of the suspension period. Such reinstatement petition shall be in accordance with Mississippi Code annotated 373214A and the rules of procedure governing disciplinary proceedings of the commission. The commission, in its discretion, may reinstate the respondent's educator license only by a majority of all members of the commission present at the meeting called for that purpose upon the respondent's satisfactory showing of evidence of rehabilitation. In the matter of Mississippi Educator License Number 246396, Megan Dabbs Chisholm, whereas on or about December 21st, 2020, the Office of Educator Misconduct received an Appendix C report submitted by the Monroe County School District that alleged the respondent, Megan Dabbs Chisholm, violated Standard 4 of the Mississippi Educator Code of Ethics and Standards of Conduct, whereas the respondent, Megan Dabbs Chisholm, has consented to an agreed order placing her educator license on probation without the necessity of a disciplinary hearing before the commission. Respondent Megan Dabbs Chisholm admits that during the 2020-2021 school year, while employed as an educator with the Monroe County School District, violated Standard 4 of the Mississippi Educator Code of Ethics and Standards of Conduct adopted by the Mississippi State Board of Education as alleged in an Appendix C submitted by the Monroe County School District. And such action constitutes grounds for suspension or revocation of a teacher or administrator license pursuant to Mississippi Code Annotated 373212F. That upon execution of this agreed order, respondent's educator license number 246396 to teach in the state of Mississippi and all privileges belonging to said license shall immediately be placed on probation for a period of 1 year from the date of ratification by the commission. It is further agreed that the respondent shall, at his own expense, complete a seminar or coursework related to proper student educator ethics and conduct from a reputable source satisfactory to the commission prior to the conclusion of the probationary period stated prior. Said coursework should equal 3 hours of coursework or be the equivalent thereof. The respondent shall submit proof of attendance and successful completion of the course of study to the Office of Educator Misconduct. The probationary period shall remain in effect for 1 year from the date of ratification. Any violations of state and/or federal law and/or allegations of violation of Mississippi Educator Code of Ethics and Standards of Conduct or failure to complete a requirement of the probation during the probationary period shall automatically result in the immediate suspension of the respondent's educator license for the remainder of the probationary period. In the event the respondent's license is suspended due to failure to comply with the above conditions of his probation, the respondent may petition for reinstatement of his license following conclusion of the suspension period. Such reinstatement petition shall be in accordance with Mississippi Code Annotated 373214A and the rules of procedure governing disciplinary proceedings of the Commission. The Commission, in its discretion, may reinstate the respondent's educator license only by a majority of all members of the Commission present at the meeting called for that purpose upon the respondent's satisfactory showing of evidence of rehabilitation. That concludes the agreed orders. The Office of Educator Misconduct respectfully requests that you consider these for ratification.
Thank you, sir. I know that takes a lot of work, but I know that speeds up the process on hearings and things, so appreciate what you and your office does.
Thank you.
All right, we'll entertain a motion for approval or a motion to take under advisement. Please identify yourself and the motion you are making for the record.
Make a motion,
William
Jamie.
Hamilton. Yeah, I make a motion to approve. William Hamilton.
We'll need a second.
Second, Jamie Creel.
But before they move to vote, can you guys, I would suggest rephrasing the motion for acceptance and ratification.
Okay, William Hamilton, I make a motion for acceptance and ratification.
Second, Jamie Creel.
Thank you, sir. All right, any discussion? All right, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll get ready to move into item number 11. I appreciate everybody's work today. A lot going on, a lot of things going on. Appreciate Department of Education and all that they do through their various departments. So a lot of good things happening I see and moving along, and I think that's positive for our teachers, staff, and students. So appreciate all that y'all do. Move on to item number 11, adjournment. Entertain a motion for approval.
Motion to adjourn, Netta Taplin.
Thank you, ma'am. Need a second?
Second, Kim Hubbard.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion will carry. Appreciate everybody being here today and all that y'all do for the commission as well. Meeting will be adjourned at 11:14.